Howdy, howdy guys, and welcome to the Lone Wolf channel. Since last time I've gotten a new microphone, so hopefully you can hear me well. Yay! Okay, what is on my mind today? On my mind today is depression. I want to talk a bit about depression. I'll try to keep this video as short as possible. There are a few myths, in my opinion, about depression, and I want to talk about them. The first myth that I would like to debunk is that depression is not a disease. It's more like a state of mind. I mean, come on guys. We live in 2024. It should be fairly obvious that depression is very much a disease, and it's very real for the ones who struggles with it. The second myth that I've heard a lot is that you can get over depression, or you can get past depression by thinking positively. Positive thinking or attitude, or that you can control your state of mind, and through that type of thinking you could get over depression. It's almost like you can choose not to be depressed. Now, in my honest opinion, and I'm not a qualified psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever, but in my opinion that is completely BS. And I'd like to explain to you why I think that. First of all, positive thinking is a type of psychology that at its core it's quite controversial. I think this has been developed since the 90s, something like that. It's a fairly new, let's say, sentiment. And research will show that positive thinking doesn't have that type of effect that people like to think. And when it comes to depression, it might have the exact opposite effect, that it might make you more depressed. Because what you're doing when you start up with positive thinking is that you also start to judge. You think about yourself that, oh my God, I can't master my own feelings. I don't have control. I need to start thinking positively. And then you give yourself a new reason for being depressed. So it might have the exact opposite effect of what you might think it does. There are several hypotheses when it comes to positive thinking, but there are so many reasons, or all of these reasons is yet another opportunity to blame yourself, that you're not good enough, which is exactly the kind of thinking that you want to avoid. Thirdly, or another reason why positive thinking doesn't really work, is that it's not really the way you think that has most influence on depression. Depression can have completely different causes. You can get depressed because of the mixture inside of your brain, or lack of different things inside your brain. And in my personal case, I've struggled with depression the last half year quite severely, And I started to think that, I should just get a grip and start thinking positively and change my attitude, and everything will be okay. But it didn't. Then I had another trick up my sleeve, that I could start to meditate, which has worked in the past, because if you've got depression once, you'll get it again and again, most likely. Well, what happened? It didn't work that way I thought it would. Meditation might work to some extent, but it did not get rid of the physical pain that I felt inside my head, particularly in the frontal part of my head. So instead, I went to the doctor, and he took several blood samples from me, and he found out a very interesting thing. That is that I lacked vitamin B. I had a severe vitamin B deficiency, and particularly B9 and B12. Now, if you lack B12 in particular, this has a huge impact on your state of mind, and this causes depression. So it doesn't really matter how much positive thinking that I would go through, or how much I would meditate, or how I would try to alter my inner state of mind through thinking alone. These type of chemical mixtures that I had struggled with, the only thing that really helped was taking vitamins. And just immediately, and this is quite interesting and quite shocking actually, the next day I took some pills, and the next day I already felt a huge improvement. I didn't have that type of headache that I felt, or that type of heavy, just like my head was, how shall I put it, torn down, or basically depressed, like physically. That's the thing I felt. All of these type of pains were, I wouldn't say completely gone, but they had diminished quite extensively. So, guys, think about it. If you suffer from depression, don't start blaming yourself. Start by maybe thinking what could be wrong, what's wrong with your body, what could be the possible reason for why you are suffering the way you are. And it's kind of interesting that you can break a leg, you can break an arm. Everybody would understand that what you need to do is heal your arm, and then the pain will go away. But it's kind of interesting that we don't think the same way when it comes to our mind, because we like to think that we can control everything that goes on inside our heads. But as I'm a living proof of, it doesn't necessarily work that way. So maybe the reason why you are depressed is because you lack or have a vitamin B deficiency. Just my thoughts. So I promised I'll keep this brief, and now I've passed 9 minutes. So I think that should be enough. Thank you for listening. Think about what I've said, and take care, and namaste.